Hello, Bill Colodzi here, jumping into a Legacy Cube draft. These are back up after, some Eldritch Moon while we're waiting for Kaladesh. Now, Legacy Cube, the name of the game is kind of Planeswalkers. You want to prioritize the really good Planeswalkers because they're just so strong with renewable value and anything to help get you there. But in this pack, the Planeswalkers, well, at least Gideon Jura is really strong, but I like Raphelos a little bit better. There are a lot of high-end cards that just ask you to have a lot of mana, like Myr Battlesphere, and this guy ramps to those so quickly. So the upside on Raphelos is high enough that I'm gonna start with that. Yeah, like Mindslaver, things like that. Actually, let's just go full ramp. I mean, Elspeth Tirel is wonderful. Ralzaric's all right. But now that we're kind of on this path, green is the best color for ramping up. So let us take Llanowar Elves. And there's nothing else here that's so much stronger than it. Especially not considering our first pick. What does this thing do? Ferocious, you get 2 creatures from your top 8. See the Unwritten. The only problem with this is if you're in your bottom 10 cards, it's pretty rough for you. Yeah, that said, it'll probably wheel. The other options are Surik, Mother of Runes, and Verdant Catacombs, and I'll never say no to a dual land here. Or not a dual land, a fetch land, which are better than dual lands. So this is a nice little start in a green ramp strategy. Just need to pick up a bunch of forests and possibly dip into a second color. Green is pretty good with blue. There's upheaval and opposition, all kinds of things that work well with it. Now what? Another couple good ones. Distended Mindbender is a strong play. Acidic Slime is a pretty early play in a ramp deck, and it could be crippling for your opponent, destroying all kinds of creatures and enchantments, and usually just a land. Explore is fine. It's not my favorite piece of ramp. Sometimes it won't even hit a land drop. So yeah, Acidic Slime here. Alright, a lot of good cards in this pack. We've got Kiora, Wood Elves, and to a lesser extent, Garruk. It kind of looks like we're set up to play Garruk. We've got Verdant Catacombs. It does have a bunch of loyalty, but 7 mana is a lot. This does ask a lot, and Kiora doesn't ask quite as much. I'm just a bigger fan of Kiora, the card, than Garruk. And Garruk might wheel. I don't think Kiora has a chance of wheeling. It's possible Wood Elves was just a better card to pick there, but I'll take that chance. Windswept Heath. Yeah, again, I love these fetches, especially a fetch that finds a forest when we've got Raphelos. That is strong. We don't even have to be in white, but this does help splash a card like Mirari's Wake, and then we can play any card we see. Gaia's Cradle is another one to look out for. It just asks you to have a bunch of creatures, and then it gets really strong. Okay, Dramoka's Command. Put a bunch of counters on stuff. Destroy an enchantment. I don't even know all the modes of this. There's 4 different modes, and you choose to prevent damage from an instant or sorcery. And you can fight creatures. That's interesting. I don't want to take a double white card when we're trying to play mostly forests. And I don't really like Evolutionary Leap. It's okay, I just don't like this style of cards. I'll take Jermoka's Command. And Nature's Lore is a fine ramp card. Works well with Rofellos. As opposed to Spellskite is fine in any deck. Daze is exciting. And Ajani is great, but let's keep green. Rampaging Baloth. This card is not a very exciting card. It does work well with our 2 fetches, and it might just be a good enough card to help win a game. I mean, if you have a 6/6 and a bunch of 4/4s, that's usually going to be able to do enough damage to your opponent to kill him, so can't be too sad about that. Mindslaver, this type of effect is great in Cube, better than other formats where you can't really make people hurt themselves so much. But in Cube, yeah, you can really usually do a lot, especially later in the game, if the game goes on that long. Take this guy, Maelstrom Pulse. Yeah, I mean, we have all these cards we could splash, and depending on what kind of land base we get, especially if we get some dual lands, green X lands, it'll be pretty easy to splash whatever we need. Yeah, the only one of these that is super high power level is this Kiora. But if we pick up another white splash or black splash, then these become more appealing. Eldritch Evolution and Chameleon Colossus. I like the Colossus here just because I don't know how reliable the evolution is. I don't want to constrict myself so much. This kills an elf, so let's get rid of it. And even if we don't play Chameleon Colossus, it does provide a mana sink for tons of Rofellos mana, and it's just great against a black deck. So what now? Basic land card with the Rampant Growth. Even if this just gets a forest, that's pretty good. Just for ramping up to 4 mana. Now, it also helps fix if that becomes a thing. And the other cards in this pack are all, well, I guess Duplicant is pretty versatile, but they're all a commitment to a different color or a combination of colors. And Obstinate Baloth, this is a little too early to pick this guy. I usually wouldn't main deck it. I'd rather play a strategy where we have a higher top end and not so much mid-range. Oh, Gaia's Cradle. There it is. The upside of this is amazing. It's not a hard card to justify including in any deck, but it's especially good when you have a bunch of little green creatures running around. That said, I'm a little sad it's in the same pack as Elvish Mystic, because they work well together. I guess neither are all that likely to wheel, but if no one else is in green, there's a lot of other playables in this pack, as there usually are in Cube. I don't expect to get the Mystic back, but the Cradle is a little more important. And we still see some great cards for us. Jiraga Tree Speaker might just be the best turn 1 play in a Legacy Cube green ramp strategy. Ancient Tomb is also fine, but it's not a forest. That is a big strike against it. Genesis Wave. The way our deck is shaping up, Genesis Wave is going to be a finisher, but Jiraga's just too good. Oh, wow. Speaking of something to ramp to, Emrakul is insane. It is a way to steal your opponent's turn, and you have a big 13/13 in play. I'm tempted just not to take that here over Garruk. I was talking about how Planeswalkers are the name of the game, and this is one of the best green Planeswalkers, especially to ramp up to stuff. Ramp up to what, you might ask? Well, hopefully we get something like Emrakul. Yeah, perfect. Avenger of Zendikar is exactly what we want. We've got some fetches that work well with it. Gaia's Cradle works well with it, both before and after. If that wasn't here, Deranged Hermit is a fine play, Westvale Abbey and Search for Tomorrow. But that's exactly what we want. And to go with that, a perfect finisher, Craterhoof Behemoth. Just the 1-2 punch of Craterhoof after Avenger can't be beat. You just can't beat it. Sylvan Caryatid is fine. That might be the pick if the Craterhoof wasn't here, but, well, it is here. Sundering Titan. Alright, we're finding tons of great plays. And if we don't splash too much, the Sundering Titan will usually just kill one of our lands and maybe 3 of our opponent's lands. Hornet Queen. Yep, keep it coming. Eventually we'll have to cut some of this high end, but for now we can cut like the mid-range we have going on. I hope that elf wheels. It might, with all this green we're getting past. Duplicant, sure. I'm not afraid of anything else here. Not much. But yeah, this stuff is just perfect with what we have now. Surik is kind of cool. I don't mind picking up a Predator for main deck or sideboard. Genesis Wave is back. Genesis Wave, if you're playing a lot of expensive creatures, Genesis Wave gets worse because if you can only play a 7-drop, then you're not going to find your 7-drop with Genesis Wave, but I think it's still fine to pick up here to really cut green. If anyone had any doubts of whether they should be in green, hopefully they resolve those doubts. I really hope those elves come back. Nope, just an Indrik Stomper. Or Stomp Howler, I guess it's got this little snoot to howl. We're not going to get it, are we? It's probably already passed. Take the Savannah, though. That's late. Didn't even really notice it the first time around. Okay, what do we get? Well, the only real ramp spell here is Bloom Tender. And that's not that exciting. The most exciting card in this pack is Consecrated Sphinx. I don't think our deck wants to be doing that, though. Let's see our chain for Birthing Pod. We've got 2 1-drops, 1 2-drop, no 3-drops. Yeah, the chain breaks pretty early. And Mystic Snake is a little hard to cast, being double blue. Isochron Scepter does nothing. I might just take this Bloom Tender. Even if it only ramps for 1, it does bridge the gap from 2 to 4 pretty well. And that's the gap we need to bridge. Plus, it just has a little upside if we play Kiora. Oh, wow. Well, this is a tough pick. It's really between Noble Hierarch and Shardless Agent, because Shardless Agent has so many strong hits in our deck. Fellows, you know, all of our ramp spells. But the turn 1 plays are important for consistency, and this does help us play all our Bant stuff. Yeah, I'll take that. Breeding Pool is a nice pickup here. Once again, it's a forest and helps us play all our Bant stuff. Not giving up on much, we're not in red. Alright, we've really got our pick now. Lotus Cobra, Nissa, Dragonlord Dramoka. Our high end is looking okay without Dramoka. And cut Genesis Wave for now. We don't have any 3-drops. Planeswalkers are great. It works well with Gaia's Cradle. It does some stuff. Lotus Cobra might be my second consideration here, but it's not a planeswalker. Like, the upside of Nissa is so much higher. And it's sweet. It's a new card. We've got to check it out. Edric. Now, that's interesting. Edric versus Master of the Wild Hunt. So how easily can we get blue? We've already got 3 sources here, plus Noble Hierarch, Rampant Growth, Nature's Lore. Bloom Tender doesn't really help it, but it helps Bloom Tender by being another blue spell. Yeah, just because it fits the curve better. And I don't really like Master of the Wild Hunt. It's a strong card, but let's take Edric here. Interesting. I'll always play a Gitaxian Probe in a deck. Free spells. Can't be beat. Thrun. You know, he's a 4-mana 4/4. That's pretty good in limited, but it's not super exciting in cube. There are some decks that can't deal with it, for sure, but it's not very exciting. Reclamation Sage. Now this is a lot of value. Sometimes it just feels like playing Acidic Slime for 3 mana. Doesn't kill a land, but usually it won't need to. Okay, Green Warden. Vanilla 5/4 for 6. But the real trick to this is getting a card back. There's also Duskwatch Recruiter. And we do have a bunch of creatures. Yeah, let's take this Duskwatch Recruiter. In a way, it's ramp, because if it ever flips, you get a discount on all your big stuff. Yeah, seems good to me. Disfigure. The thing we don't want to play against is, like, Bonfire. I guess we could survive a Bonfire. Maybe not. Bunch of little creatures. A bunch of tokens. Yeah, let's cut that. I think Disfigure we could probably come back from, but Bonfire is just ridiculous. Not that every deck really wants to play it. Oh, wow. Shardless Agent. Can't go wrong with that. In this deck, where we're just splashing blue and we don't have any counterspells to worry about. Stomping Ground. Now that we have enough playables, yeah, we'll cut that. Andromoka. This could be a nice sideboard card, or maybe even an upgrade for the Baloths. And the rest. So we need 2 cuts in this deck. Shouldn't be too hard to sort that out. Mindslaver's fun. I'm not really sure what Surik does in this deck. We don't really need to give our cards haste to make them good. Color. We're not really in white. We're definitely not in black or red, despite our fixing. And I'm not super excited to play all this stuff here. Okay, so that's 24. It's 24 with a Gitaxian Probe and a ton of ramp. So we've got 7 sources of ramp on turns 1 and 2. Mindslaver. So for 10 mana, we steal our opponent's turn. That's kind of cool. Is there anything that's going to be better than that? I don't think so. I think that's pretty strong on its own. And then Dragonlord Jamoka. Maybe we cut Dragonlord Jamoka because, like, Duplicant could be better. And we don't have that many sources of white. If we can get away with it, well, we do have Savannah, Windswept Heath, and Verdant Catacombs. They all get white. And Noble Hierarch as well. It's kind of a tough call. Yeah, Dramoka's pretty good. If we're fighting against a deck where we need to gain some life, that'll bring us back. That'll happen sometimes against a mono-red deck where you go down to 3 and they're out of cards, but all they need to do is top deck a lightning bolt. So if you gain the 5 life from 1 hit of Jamocha, put them down to 15, well, now you're out of range of a lightning bolt. That's pretty good. Alright, yeah, I'm going to play just 16 lands, but keep in mind this is kind of a 39 card deck, and a ton of our early drops find land or generate mana. So this is 21 green, 3 blue, and 1 white. And we'll just cut Island for Breeding Pool, and Plains for Savannah. So our deck looks something like this. Guy's Cradle, all our top end here, a couple of fetches, and for our 3 blue cards we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sources, 5, 6 sources to play this by turn 3. Oh, whoops, let's take out, 1 forest for our Gitaxian Probe. The only other way I could see running this is 1 more island and 1 less forest, in case our island gets milled and our Noble Hierarch gets killed. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take out 1 forest and put in an island. Then our forest count is still 12. And that should be good enough. So our turn 1 green sources are 14, which is really plenty. And then we have more from the Cradle. Cool, pretty excited about this deck. It's got a lot of power. So I'll see you in round 1.